Okay, I've tried to do this a couple of times. I've tried to, and every time I start to, he fucking gets up here. Okay? So you're just gonna have to deal with it. The cat on my lap. I don't know what to tell you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Everybody go watch the video that's attached to this comment here. On Mr. Global's video, where he was talking about the question that he was asked in Congress. And when he went to Congress to address, I guess there was a committee or something over there that he went and dealt with. Anyway, as I said, Mr. Global was asked a very simple question. If the United States of America is the #1 oil producer in the world, then how come the American people, the American citizens, how come they're not benefiting or profiting from that? And Mr. Global rightly alerted them that's because the people don't own those resources. The corporations do. So the corporations get the profit. Now, sure, the corporations have to pay leases on that land, but the leases aren't near what they're getting out of the ground or the subsidies that we give the U.S. oil industry to go out and do their job. And that basically businesses are not in the business out of the kindness of their hearts. Hell, they're not even giving you jobs out of the kindness of their heart anymore. No, that stopped with Reagan, actually. Oh, it didn't start with Reagan. It started with what was then called the silent moral majority. They turned into the Heritage Foundation. And when they became the Heritage Foundation, their golden goose, their first person in presidency, was Ronald Reagan. I mean, they had been chipping away with it, with court cases and this, that, and the other, to try to lower and save the corporation CEOs and the bigwigs and the shareholders, to try to save them any money they could. Because the more money they made, well, the more money they had to pay in taxes. And thanks to FDR, who actually cared about the American people, the corporations, because they made more money, had to pay more in taxes. We had to have more in taxes so that we could pay for benefits such as the Social Security Administration, minimum wage, where FDR stated that the minimum wage was the wage of a decent living, a livable wage. And what is a livable wage? The wage of a decent day's work. Not the bare substance, but enough and more than enough to get by. And after all, how unfair, how selfish of the American people to ask them to pay a little bit more. I mean, after all, they're the ones that are putting all of their money and all of their assets and their entire lives on the line just to provide you a job. You should be grateful. Hell, their fathers and grandfathers under FDR even gave you pension plans. You know, we gave you a little bit more for you instead of just having your Social Security only. You owe it. In the comments too, there's a Supreme Court case that they're talking about. If you haven't gone back and read it, please do. But that was one of the regulations that they had the very conservative Supreme Court at the time chip away. Looking back on it now, God, they sure did know what they were doing. But after the civil rights movement, that lit a fire up underneath their ass to really kick it into overdrive. They tried to get Nixon on board. Nixon didn't really care for it, but, you know, he did come close. But it was Ronald Reagan. Damn. An actor. A former lib. A Hollywood elite. We can get him to change the tax laws. Because that's what they needed, you see. They needed the tax laws to be changed. Because FDR's tax laws were that the corporations paid the majority of the taxes. The middle class did great, you know. And after the civil rights, well, more were going to become part of the coveted middle class. And after all, they should take pity on us, you know, all the rich people. We should take pity on them. Because after all, they put all of their assets on the line, right? To build these companies, to give positions, to create these jobs so that you can have a job. You should be grateful. And sometimes government is not the solution to a problem. Sometimes government is the problem. Ronald Reagan's speech. Yeah. When he accepted the nomination, the Republican nomination for president. Yeah. That sometimes the government taxes corporations too fucking much, and it stifles their growth. And if we stifle their growth, then we stifle the opportunity to be able to create more tax-paying jobs so we can continue to have a robust middle class. But middle class, you can do something. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask for what you can do for your country. You can give the corporations your money, and they will make more jobs. And then they'll hire you. And then you'll pay them more money. And then they'll make more jobs, which they'll hire your kids. And then they'll get more money. And then eventually, we promise, that there will be so much money we won't be able to contain it, and it will flow over the edges down to you guys. We promise. Only they took the extra money and they bought lobbyists. They bought politicians to change the laws. To change the laws so that they had to put their shareholders first. Because after all, they were all pulling their money together, the richest of the rich, and putting themselves on the line for just you. Out of the kindness of our hearts, we don't have to do this, you know. After all, my father and grandfather were so nice to your grandfather and your grandmother and your mother and your father, of giving them everything that they could ever want in the way of a pension plan, contract, insurance, the whole 9 yards. And really, you shouldn't look at us as corporations, because what is a corporation if not a bunch of people with a shit ton of money getting together and creating jobs for you? We can't pay all of these taxes. We can't pay all of these taxes and still give you a job. You know? So we have to cut the taxes for ourselves. Oh, and while we're at it, we need to make ourselves to where we have the same rights as the U.S. citizen. Citizens United. That helped them to be able to buy more lobbyists more quickly. And the conservatives, boy howdy, they love that money. All to sell the American lie. That if you just work hard enough and pay enough for the job that you have, that you'll be okay. That you too maybe one day will become a billionaire or a trillionaire. Never gonna happen. And then you will be one of the elites. That you will be using your money to put onto the line for other people to get jobs, and they should be grateful. It's the lie of trickle-down economics. That if you just give up enough, that the rich will take care of you out of the kindness of their heart. But people don't go into business out of the kindness of their heart. They go into business to make money. They don't take care of their employees. They take care of their shareholders. And if they have to get rid of the employees to pay their shareholders, well, they're in a right-to-work state. You no longer have a pension plan. No, we put your money in the stock market and play with it. We're not going to lose our money, but your retirement, well, just think of it this way. It was more of your hard-earned money given to the rich to help them provide you for your job and maybe your children's job. And hey, remember how when Reagan instituted trickle-down economics, he blew a big, massive hole in the debt and deficit? And then we had to take from the Social Security Administration to pay for the deficit in the revenue because the government still has to continue to function. As for where this is all heading, well, that depends largely on the American people now, doesn't it? It really just depends on how much, what's the measure of oppression that we will tolerate? Because that would be the exact measure of oppression that they dump upon everyone. When will the American people stand up, learn from their history, throw off such guards and replace them with new ones to better protect our liberty, our welfare, and our pursuit of happiness?